I would say it was more by chance, like not by choice, like circumstantial. I had a spondylitis.
To today's exclusive interview, we are thrilled to have with us today Mr. Vikram R Singh, a premium member of the blockchain community, a global CEO, keynote speaker, and one of India's leading blockchain evangelists. As the CEO of Entire, he is also on a mission to make India the world's Web3 capital. He holds degrees from Punjab University, Kurukshetra University, and a postgraduate diploma in journalism from Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan's Institute of Technology. Sir, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
So, your journey into Web3 has been quite remarkable. Could you please take us through your early years of education and how you basically entered into this tech world?
Okay, so I would say it was more of by chance, like not by choice, like circumstantial. I had a spondylitis in 2004. Like I was not able to work anywhere, so that was the reason I had to start off my own. So my initial years were quite lean, first 4 or 5 years, and 2009 was the year when we started again, and with 1 month backup, and today by the grace of God we are what we are today. So we just kept going and going, and kept building the business which brought us here, I would say, by the grace of God.
How were your initial years in your college?
So I never went to a college, by the way. I had all my studies as the like distance education correspondence.
Okay.
So I can't tell you about that.
Okay.
Which never happened.
So, from a computer application background to doing diploma in journalism, it is quite an unusual combination which people usually don't prefer. So, how things led to you into doing journalism?
So I started my career from the design field.
Okay.
So like learning the graphics, desktop publishing, and I'm talking about somewhere around 97, 98 kind of stuff. And then we got into 2000, and that was the same time when Y2K bug happened, and all there was, like everywhere, computer education was highly in demand, Java, C++, all this kind of stuff. And as everyone would at that kind of age would like to keep growing, learning new things. So from design I kind of developed an urge to learn designing, web designing, and that made me to also explore the option of doing a PG diploma in computer application from Kurukshetra University, which I eventually did. And while doing working with the company, local company, as a web designer, and however some because of the market challenges or something, some challenges, they shifted their business model to a publishing business. So they started pulling out a magazine, an IT magazine, around 2000, 2001, and since I always had the knack of taking the ownership, and content was very dear to me always. Like I was very good while studying in English especially. So I started taking the ownership, like what should be our the cover story, what should be the content calendar, what should be the index of the magazine should look like, what should be the message we should be giving in the editorial piece. Because I used to while I was in 9th and 10th, I used to visit one of my like a relative, so he used to tell me, like, always read opinion pages of the Tribune, like newspaper, and even the editorial pieces as well. So that was the time when I started developing my inclination towards the content.
Okay.
And I used to like the writings in the Tribune, especially the writings of Hari Jai Singh, who was the editor at that point of time. And a very famous scandal happened, you know, the like in the employment, related employment, Mr. Sidhu was the culprit at that time. So, and we covered that, we made our thesis on around that as well. And while studying all the editorials, especially like the way the editorials are written, that impressed me a lot, you know. So,
Okay.
and so because of that, you know, the interest, because of that, you know, the knowledge which I had acquired, the tone, the tonality of the content, you know, I had gained. So I could apply that thing in the new role, which nobody gave me that role. I took it myself. So they brought someone very senior to lead that magazine as an editor. However, like writing about the latest topics in the IT, you know, you can understand how challenging it can become for somebody with maybe 30 years experience in the conventional industry. And we as a youngster had me at that point of time had the knack of studying or knowing about what is happening in the world, what is happening in the technology, what the other technology magazines are writing. So I used to do all these things. And they also brought a couple of girls like you guys, you know, as sub editors. They were reporting to me, reporting to Mr. Editor, in fact.
Yeah.
But since I was taking all the lead, so they were working directly with me, and they were from the Sanavar school, and they already had done the mass comm and journalism. So they said to me like, sir, when you are doing everything, why you haven't done journalism? Why don't you do journalism? We have, because our company, the organization was in sector 26, and the Bharati Vidya Bhavan is sector 27, I guess, just opposite the road. They just said like, you just go opposite, you know, in the Bharati Vidya Bhavan, and you can easily do a journalism through evening college. And I said, okay, that's fine. So because that was the time, like in your age group, like whatever used to come to my way, I used to try to grab that. So I simply you know, went there and applied, and you know, went and completed my, you know, journalism. So, and when this personal you know, this spondylitis happened, and again, like you know, so by that time I had acquired 3 skills: number 1 design, number 2 technology through PG in computer application, and number 2 technology, and 3 was the journalism content part. I started you know, in 2004 as my the first company was PMC, print media concept. So I was after something which should start with me and end with me. At that point of time, the businesses, the local businesses who were at a certain level, they used to, you know, like go for having their own periodicals, right, so that they could write you know, press on their car or maybe vehicles, so that nobody can stop them, or maybe they will have some pass to get into anywhere. But you know, like the launching a publication is a very tedious task, right from the beginning of creating the content, you know, editing it, writing it, you know, then designing it, then publishing it, getting it printed, getting it disseminated. It's a complete process. And I try to I spotted that opportunity that this is a very tedious process, and since I have all the experience in all these 3 fields, let me start with this kind of a service which start with me and end with me. And I was fortunate enough to win some couple of orders, like one I took up Dev Darshan brand. So I kept publishing newsletters for them, and also Fortis. So these were my initial years of you know, like who paid my bills. And when like doing all this kind of stuff, I started doing other printing jobs. But as you know, like printing jobs like are also full of very challenging supply chain, you know, like value chain, and a lot of areas where the mistakes can happen. And when I started experiencing those things, so it made me to think and come up again with the new business model, which where I thought like, okay, let's use my skills in the technology space from the PGT in computer application, because I learned C++ at that time from a tuition, evening tuition with one of my friend. So that had given me enough knowledge about how the websites are designed, the softwares are written. One of my friend helped me a lot in understanding and creating, understanding the BA process, business analysis process, creating documentation and all this kind of stuff. And so, and in journalism as well, like I would say the best part in journalism which I still remember, still apply, is 4 W's and 1 H. What, why, when, where, how. And I do tell everyone that this is such a powerful thing which can be applied anywhere, in any aspect of your life.
Yes.
Right, may it be the family or may it be the office, right? If you know what you are going to do, when you are going to do, how you are going to do, where you are going to start from, and how it will be done, it covers everything, right? That's the basic rule of writing a story, right?
Yes.
So that I applied that thing. I kept doing that in the business as well. And so when we got into the technology space, started giving us good results, like where we could repair a mistake as well, right? So it is as compared to the publishing line, which where you can't do that. So that's how the journey started. But I would say, like when you look back, everything helps you, may it be designing, may it be technology, or may it be the journalism. So even today as well, like I would say, like if had I not learned designing and journalism, we would not have been able to reach where we are. Like one of the reason, because we were able to project our brand in a way which could be seen as the leader in the space. We could write the content in a way which could be beneficial to the audiences who have to make the decisions to buy from us, right? So all these things helps when you build a business.
So as you talked about reading op-ed, opinion pages in newspapers, and you also talked about magazines, do you think they are still relevant in this modern world where everything is so on social media, the content creation? So what do you think about it?
Yes, I would say, because the style with which the opinion pages are written, balancing the views of, like the what is in the interest of the public, what is in the interest of the government, and also keeping, because journalism is considered as the watchdog of the society, right? So I would rather go for, I know, like, because the attention span of the people nowadays has go to maybe 3 second or maybe 10 second. So within 3 seconds we are hitting a thought, and something is distracting us. So just the form of the the how we consume content has changed, but the wit which is required, the knowledge which is required, and how to look at a particular thing, right? I think that can be learned by reading those opinion pages and the editorials, especially the people who have the credibility in this space.
Correct.
Because that is very important. That's a huge void nowadays. Nowadays we follow so many people in the social media. People will prepare podcast, prepare content where they may not have done anything in that field. Then how I can trust that advice, or how they will be advising actually, or maybe publishing content, and we as the audience, most of the audience, like, without verifying the credibility of that the author, the podcaster, or maybe the people who is creating the content, we just blindly keep following that, right? So I would say as we go further in our in the future, the responsibility of the journalism and the journalist has increased a lot. How to make sure to navigate the challenges being thrown by the technology, the adoption of technology, how to uh, like convert your content, maybe write your content in a way which also respect the people's time, attention span as well, but gets the message delivered, right? So how we can make the best use of this platform, the social medias, the attention spans, these restrictions which are there, but at the same time, hold the premise of the basic promise of the journalism, the basic responsibility of the journalism or journalist, and uphold that and deliver the services, the message which is required to be delivered in the society.
Okay. So many people still see blockchain as just about cryptocurrency. So how would you explain them this thing on a broader level, on a broader perspective about the potential as to someone who is new into this space?
I would say like there is a lot of content which can be accessed. However, I would say like in one line, if I have to tell you like what is the power of cryptocurrency or maybe the blockchain. If I have a digital file in your computer or in your phone, which can be easily copied to another phone. At the same time, if I have a or like a digital money in my pocket which cannot be replicated in any other computer until a particular way, in a particular way a transaction is done and that is recorded on blockchain, only then the ownership of that, only then that ownership of that money will be changed, right? So this is how you look at the budget. It's nothing but it's a DLT, distributed ledger technology. For example, you have a like a college management system where all the student records are there, but anybody can copy paste that records in any other system. But in blockchain, this is not possible. I hope I am making this clear. As a layman, you can understand that this is a DLT, distributed ledger technology, where any data which is sitting there cannot be copied and pasted.
So in today's world, we also see a lot about online thefts, online security problems. So somewhere technology also takes a back step in that thing. So how do you take that as a thing or as a challenge when you work for such a huge brand?
So I would say that that's the premise, that's the promise of blockchain. So if you why we needed blockchain, why we needed Web3, because of this data theft and because of this privacy things, right, the challenges. But when you look at blockchain, that all the data is being controlled. If I am the owner of a data, so it belongs to me, and I control the access, that who will access this data, which means that privacy can be controlled when the data ownership goes back to me. For example, your data is stored in a college management system, right, in the university, but it is not you who is controlling the data. It is the university or maybe somebody managing that software who is controlling that data. What happens if that person goes kind of like like sell that data to somebody, nobody can control that. So this is the promise of blockchain, where the data, whosoever the original owner of the data, belongs to him only, and he can make sure that he wherever he wants to share that data, he can do that part.
Okay. Also when we talk about Entire, what are some of the most exciting projects that Entire has done earlier?
So I would say, like, just to name a few, although their list is very huge, we worked with the Skoda, like Skoda Autos.
Okay.
They came to us to increase their brand loyalty or customer kind of engagement, where we created complete end-to-end like NFT program, like so where the NFTs could be minted. First of all, like how what will be the concept behind everything, how the NFTs will be created, minted, sold, and then they will be kind of like it will make the money to them, and how the their customer engagement loyalty will be increased. So that's what we did. This is one of the project, but there are multiple hundreds of projects which we have done.
Okay. Also, working with brands sometimes can be very difficult to manage at times, see things going haywire and all the chaos happening at the last minute. So how do you handle all these things?
It's all about the part of the planning, right? So if you plan well, you can execute well. If you don't plan well, then we are planning to fail, right? So I would say like that's more related to the planning part and the kind of stakeholders which are involved in execution of that project.
Okay. Also, when I talk about leadership in a fast changing industry requires adaptability. So how do you keep on with the trends in the market going on?
It's all about like staying disciplined in understanding and keeping an eye on what is happening in the outer world, right? And doing some deep analysis like how these things are going to shape the future, right? And how these things are going to align with the future expectation of the future consumer, right? Like for example, today you might be spending 10,000 rupees a month or maybe 20,000, but down the line 5 years, 10 years, maybe 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, you will be spending maybe 100,000 a month or maybe 150,000 a month, right? But what will shape your choices, right? What will influence your choices? If you are able to predict those things, right? And at the same time, what kind of products can be launched, prepared, which can align with those choices, at the same time understanding like what will be your challenges, under what challenges you will be making those choices. So if the and technology can solve all these solutions, all these problems, sorry. And so once you are able to uh, kind of like a deep dive into those kind of stuff, then definitely you can stay ahead of your competition.
Also, taking it on a lighter note, I assume that you travel a lot related to your work. So, can you name that one favorite place or one city or country that you visited that has taken you all by surprise in terms of technology, art, heritage, architecture?
I would say entirely by surprise, uh, difficult to recall such thing, because if you ask about technology, I would say as an Indian or sitting in India, we are quite ahead of or maybe at par with what is happening in the world. Number one, the kids who are growing in our country or who are being raised in our home, I feel like it is the same the way they are being raised in Australia, in US, in UK or in Canada. Like there's no much difference nowadays. Back gone are the days when we used to buy stuff from outside and give it to our kids at home. Nowadays we get everything over here, right? So the world has I would say like has been reduced into a global village. So yeah, with respect to the heritage, I would say like UK has a great heritage. Same goes for Europe as well. So these are the few places where what amazes us, like so they do a lot of care about their monuments, about their the old stuff. So that's one thing I would like to add here. But overall, in with respect to technology, we are at par. Everyone is at par, like in the world now.
Yeah, I must say it is true that you want India to be at the leading space when it comes to technology and things. So, also, what's that one myth you want to burst when people talk about blockchain in general?
Again, so blockchain is just not a cryptocurrency. So that's the kind of myth which prevails a lot within the mainstream population. So blockchain is a methodology, right? It's not a cryptocurrency is one of the first application, successful application of blockchain. So but underlying use cases are I would say like when US has started embracing cryptocurrencies, which means the blockchain. the real use cases of blockchain will now start happening, right? So this is the we are now entering into an era or phase, I would say, where we would see the real time implementation of blockchain use cases.
Okay, so at last, what advice would you give to the younger generation, the upcoming minds who want to enter in this world of blockchain and start their new journey?
Right. So I would say not only blockchain. My advice to younger generation will be to whatever they want to do. There is a like a 3-point bullet point rule. You know, whatever you do in life, you should like it. You should be passionate about that. Number one. Number two, whatever you are doing, right, that should also like you. Right, which means you should do it in a way, like if you are playing a basketball, that you should be playing at that level, like where the people should like, the basketball also, the game should also like you as well.
Vice versa thing.
Right, vice versa. But and the last but not least, it should pay you as well. So these are number one, these three things very important. And one last thing, which is like, whatever you do, stick to it hard enough. We usually says like it takes 10,000 hours to be an expert in any field, and if you boil it down to 8 hours a day, it comes to be 5 years. After that much time, you get to know the what is there. So be prepared to burn yourself first. I would say, I'm not a literal meaning, but like get into that deep in any field where you start getting the respect that whatever you have, your knowledge or your actions, whatever you are achieving through that knowledge, so they gets appreciated. When that start happening, that should fuel your further research, growth, knowledge, and moving up the ladder.
Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome.
For sparing us your precious time. It was such an enlightening session with you.
Thank you. You're
Thank
welcome.
you, sir.
Thank you.